So, right, what's next? If nutrition's the biggest part, what's the next one?
Training.
It's interesting. Training comes second. I would agree. Training. You need to train properly. You need to eat properly. If you don't, they're hand in hand. Don't do the training. You can do all the training you want if you've not got the building blocks. It's not going to build the muscle. Right? If you go and do the hard, if you do the eating but you don't train, you're not going to get anywhere.
Those two are the two biggest, the training and the eating. If you don't do them, it doesn't matter how many drugs you're taking.
So how much difference does the drugs make then? What would you say the training is? So if it's 50 to 60% in nutrition, how much is the training?
I mean, if you're gonna probably for a good 40. Like I like to, the drugs are the icing on top of your cake.
Yeah.
Really.
So 40 plus 50 is 90.
Aye.
The drugs are looking at about 10%.
Maybe. But maybe. Aye. Because if you didn't do the other stuff and just took the drugs, you wouldn't.
You wouldn't get anywhere near it.
No, nowhere near it.
So you get 10% the cycle, 40% the training, 50% the nutrition.
Somewhere about that.
Well, I mean, look at the 1990 Olympia. If you look at the 1990 Olympia and anyone wants to disagree with it, look at the first and only drug tested Olympia. Right, the guys were 20, 30 pounds lighter. They looked like miniature versions of themselves, but they weren't like half the size. So like, they still trained, they still got lean, but they just didn't have that big, full look.
Well, that's the thing. You still get, obviously, actual natties competing, and they still look good.
Yep.
They still get shredded. They're just not as big as those taking the gear. So you can still do a lot without the drugs. Yep. So then, I would die. The drugs are just I
think the ratio is probably not far away.
Aye.
So like if you the training really subjective, because I mean I don't know what you think, but I've seen over the years there's guys that do a training that wouldn't work for me. There's training that works for me that wouldn't work for other guys. It's something that you've got to figure out about your own body. We discussed it last episode. We were talking about legs. Like you'd loaded up the leg press machine, right? But you were like, "Look, this isn't getting me where I need to go because doing this a different way is actually a lighter weight's getting me a better result."
Yep.
What would you say in terms of people that want to get their training right? What would you suggest that they do?
It's a lot of trial and error, to be fair.
That's the same with the nutrition as well. The nutrition's exactly like that.
Yeah, because like with the training, you might just like have one body part, like for me, like chest. I can just load up weights on it and rep it out. Not really care what I'm doing, I'll grow a big chest. Back, if I do that, well, I've still got a shit back, and I'm still trying to train it better. It's starting to grow now, but I've had to put a lot more thought and effort into how I train back as opposed to like my push muscles, where I can just load up and lift heavy shit, and I naturally connect with them easily, so I don't need to worry about it. So sometimes it's even just one body part that you might need to, or do you know what I mean? And it's a process of figuring out what works for you.
Yeah. What do you? So what would you say is? Do you think that the gear cycle is again the same sort of thing? Where you need a bit of trial and error.
Yeah, because people don't react as well with certain compounds. Some people might have an issue with one compound, someone else doesn't. So again, you've got to find out what works for you. Some people can only run low doses because any more fucks them up. Other people can run loads and be sound, and you could run their bloods and you wouldn't even know they were running gear. So how your body metabolizes the gear as well.